It's what you're doing, making me feel like I'm falling.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I started a series called Choose Your Own Adventure, and we started a comic strip, actually, called Seaford's Bad Day. And immediately following that, or shortly after, I became strucken with being pregnant. I did not anticipate how absolutely awful I would feel as a result of that, and this series fell to the wayside because it requires a decent amount of brain power, for me at least, to come up with a story. I apologize very deeply. There were some really die-hard fans of the comic strip, and they wanted to see part 2. Are you ever gonna do part 2? I am today.
If you're new or have no idea what I'm talking about, Seaford's Bad Day is a choose-your-own-adventure comic strip series where I draw the comic strip, obviously, and then you guys vote on what happens in the next episode. So, in a sense, we are all choosing Seaford's adventure by voting on the community tab.
Last episode, Seaford had a bunch of clothes fall on him, and there were 3 outfit choices. You guys voted for Seaford to wear a tuxedo. So let's pick up where we left off. Seaford is going to try on a tuxedo.
Okay, so this was your choice. You guys voted against the goggles and the mohawk in favor of the tuxedo. So Seaford is now going to be trying on
the tuxedo.
I just googled it, and apparently each box in a comic strip is not called a box. It's called a frame? I don't know. So in light of this new information, for this first frame, we are going to be drawing Seaford's tuxedo up close and
personal.
And see some of the details. I started off this drawing with a dark black, like the darkest black you can color with in Clip Studio, which in hindsight was a mistake because I like to color from light to dark, meaning I like to start with the lightest color usually and then build up to my darkest color as I'm creating some shading, which is what I ended up doing for this bow, but I just wanted to point out that I did it wrong at first. Before we get any further into this video, it's my obligation to point out that yes, you can see my phone case filming above this iPad. It's mainly visible in the reflection of the darker colors, but yes, you can see my phone case, my air conditioning vent, and even my forehead at certain points. I do not know how to prevent this, so please ignore it. To finish up this tuxedo, I added some shading underneath the bow and also added some finer details, like some buttons and cufflinks. Just kidding, those are not cufflinks. Cufflinks apparently go on the white part of the t-shirt, but we can assume Seaford has those just off screen. I like how you can see my whole face. I did add a small name tag, and here we have the final result of the first frame of this comic strip. Let's move on to our next frame. For this second frame, I decided we needed to learn a little bit more about the tuxedo. So I opened up that image and made it a little bit larger and then added some finer details to the actual name tag. It says that he is the best man, and I drew a cherry and a chocolate chip cookie. If you know of my characters Chip and Cherry and have watched my Top Chef series, you may know where this is going. Here's the final result of this second frame. Let's get started working on this third frame, which is actually going to have a lot of stuff going on. I decided to start off by sketching the background. This is just a rough sketch I was doing with a black pen, and then I went back in and started with the colors. I decided that we're gonna have a huge red-ish pink, I guess it's more of a magenta, bow in the background, and it's going to be very long and draping. This bow seriously must have taken a lot of fabric to create. There's also a lot of draping fabric behind the bow. That is going to be a cream beige color. Once the background was done, I hid it from existence and started working on Cherry. If you don't know who Cherry is, or Cherry, she's one of my characters. It's a cat that's inside of a berry tart. Cherry has made quite a few appearances in my Top Chef series and other videos. Since she's inside of a berry tart, she does have a lot of berries going on, but she also has a cherry sauce that's dripping down. If you're upset by the existence of a berry tart cat that is named Cherry, you can blame yourselves. I actually did not name this cat. You guys named it by voting on the community tab. Everyone seemed to vote for the name Cherry even though that kind of makes no sense, but this is all your fault. You voted for it. Anyway, I'm creating Cherry. She has a lot of details and shading, and it's actually her wedding day today. So because it's her wedding, I decided after I had drawn Cherry in the usual way that she is drawn, I also decided to add a veil on top of her head. Her veil, of course, has some purple and purpley pink flowers on top, and then a nice sheer veil thing over her face. The bride's done, let's start working on the groom. The groom's name is Chip. Chip is also one of my characters. He's a chocolate chip cookie dough mouse. He also sits in a cup of sorts, so that is why they belong together. They also go together because they are a cat and a mouse. They have a cat and mouse relationship. Cherry is the cat. She plays coy, but she's also kind of hunting Chip down, and Chip often gets scared and runs away. You have to watch the videos to actually see the full story, but eventually they did get married and have a child. So this is documenting the moment in time when they had their wedding. Chip is actually one of my favorite characters that I've ever created, and I feel like everyone else likes him a lot too. I think people like him because they think he's a dog a lot of the times, and granted, he does kind of look like a dog, but rest assured, he is a mouse. I also think people like him because everyone loves chocolate chip cookies, and he's literally made out of cookie dough. So that's a big win for Chip, you know. Chip also competed in the first season of Top Chef, and he won the whole thing, so he's definitely a favorite among us. Okay, back to the story. Because Chip is getting married, he does need some kind of groom outfit. I immediately decided that Chip was going to wear a very tall top hat to his wedding. Top hats are very fancy. I tried to convince my husband to wear a top hat to our wedding, but he refused. So ridiculous, I know. I added a nice pink magenta ribbon that also goes with the background bow. Alright, and now it's time to unhide all of the things that I've been creating. We're coloring in the different parts, and I'm also adding some thought bubbles. Chip is a little confused because he's going, where is the ring? If you don't know, the best man is in charge of bringing the wedding rings to the ceremony. That's like his job. Let's see if Seaford actually remembered to do his job. For this scene, we're drawing Seaford. He is going to be just standing there a little awkwardly. He's usually quite awkward anyway. I like to create Seaford by creating an ombre effect, but wait a minute. I'm looking at this and I just now realized I think I did this in reverse order. Usually I do the green first and then ombre with the blue, but I've ombre'd with the green and now Seaford looks weird. How did I let this happen?
Not the bunnies!
After that's done, I'm drawing Seaford inside the tuxedo. So this is the first time we will actually see him try on the tuxedo. He looks so cute in it, you're gonna love it. After I finished drawing all of the finer details on Seaford's tuxedo, I also remembered that I forgot to draw Seaford's yellow stomach. He does have a circle yellow stomach underneath there, so I added that. And now it's time for the face. Because this comic strip is called Seaford's Bad Day, after all, there is going to be something bad that happens to Seaford in this episode as well. Seaford is wearing a mustache, that's beside the point, I just thought it made him look fancy. In the background, I added some very dramatic and sharp comic strip lines. These lines kind of make it look like Seaford is frozen in place as he realizes, I forgot the ring. He's really experiencing some deep inner turmoil at this point. And here's what this frame ended up looking like. It's very scary. Seaford is like, no, I forgot the ring. He just can't get a break. Let's move on to the next frame, which will actually be rather simple to create. We're going to show Chip's reaction. So I have already drawn Chip, and in this frame, I'm going to change Chip's face to be one of a very horrified groom. He is screaming, like Chip always does. Honestly, I would scream and run away scared if my best man forgot the ring on my wedding day. Let's move on to the next frame. In this next scene, Seaford is going to have a good think. He's going to contemplate who he needs to call on for help, because clearly he has failed at doing his only job. So he needs some help acquiring the ring. As a side note, I have decided to call this version of Seaford with a mustache Fancy Seaford, because he looks quite fancy. Seaford is thinking about 3 different options that I am importing into the scene. So I actually drew these for a totally separate video that has not been posted yet. So this is where you guys are going to make a decision. A choice, if you will. A choose. You will choose what happens. And the choice you have to make is which character of mine should Seaford call on for help in the next episode? Edgy Hedgy, Bonnie, or Paul the Purple Panda? Choose one of those 3 character friends to help Seaford out with providing a ring for Chip and Cherry's wedding. Each of the characters will come up with a different solution for acquiring a ring, so choose wisely, because this will determine the type of ring that Cherry wears. For instance, Bonnie is holding a donut, so perhaps the ring would be a donut. The Edgy Hedgy is a wish hog, and she does grant wishes. And Paul does like to eat cupcakes, but he also has a cherry on top of his cupcake, so maybe that could help create a ring. I had so much fun creating episode 2. Seaford takes out his tuxedo, he's the best man, we go to Chip and Cherry's wedding, and Seaford realizes he forgot the ring. Chip screams in fear, very on brand, and Seaford has to make a decision. Who should help him out? Don't forget to go to the community tab and vote for the character you think should help Seaford in the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next week for another video. Bye!